What's up guys, I'm Suman from Phones team, and in this video let's take a look at the Asus Vivobook Gaming F571GT. Now if you remember in my previous video, which was about the Xiaomi Mi Notebook 14 Horizon Edition, I told this. This laptop has a big competitor. Yes, this laptop has a very big competitor who's much powerful but has the same pricing. And this laptop is again from a well-known brand. So that powerful laptop which I talked about in that video is this one right here. Now I came to know about this laptop when one of you guys came over to me on Instagram and were asking about some laptop recommendations, and I came across this laptop when that person sent me a link to this and asked me how it was. And at the moment I saw this laptop, I did not believe the pricing. I thought it could have been some error from Flipkart, or if someone is, I really didn't believe that this laptop costs only this much. And I did my research and it turned out to be true. And let's start this video with the other aspects of this laptop. For example, the build, keyboard, things like that. Starting with the price, there are two models where the entry model is priced at 52,000 rupees and the higher end version is priced at 62,000 rupees. And in this video, I'll be specifically focusing on the 52,000 rupee version. With that said, let us talk about the build. So on first look, it doesn't look all that great, like you don't have diamond cut edges or any fancy stuff. But I think this is a pretty decently made laptop with the main focus on function over form. Even with all the hardware packed into this machine, it's not that heavy, weighing in only at 2.14 kilograms. And as for thickness, it is 21.9 millimeters thick, which is kind of decent. And finally, it doesn't have, any flashy gamery designs. So taking this with you to any presentation or any official meetings won't be a problem. Now, I personally think that Asus has done a really good job here by not overdoing the design. And if they had overdone the design, come with new design ideas, then the prices might have increased significantly. Now moving on to the display, this has a 15.6-inch Full HD IPS display. It has a 16:9 aspect ratio. Now this should be more or less the typical Asus Vivobook display with good viewing angles and good colors for the price. But as I always say, laptops under this price point, especially below the 60,000 price range, are not meant for color accurate work, and the same thing applies to this laptop too. Anyways, the display has small bezels on three sides with somewhat a big bottom chin that has the Asus logo, and I kind of want Asus to reduce that too. It also has a webcam on top. So frankly speaking, this laptop should be really good for watching movies and playing games. Now this particular base version has a 60Hz display. But if you really want a high refresh rate panel, then you could opt for the higher end variant, which has the same display quality but has a 120Hz refresh rate. And finally, we definitely have certain things like backlight bleed or any flickering issues to be checked out. So if anyone from Asus is watching this video, kindly send in a review unit, because without testing out a device completely, I can't come to the conclusion that this here is an amazing display. But based on my experience using older Vivobooks and with all the specifications mentioned on Asus website, I think this should be a pretty good device in terms of display to watch movies or play games on. Now talking about the keyboard and trackpad, this is more or less like the exact one found on my Vivobook S510UL. So based on my experience using my Vivobook, I'll give kind of an overview on how this keyboard and trackpad might perform. The keyboard should have decent key travel, but with a mushy typing experience. The keys are actually well spaced out, and this is a backlit keyboard. Now I've never felt fatigue using my Vivobook, so you too should be good here. The trackpad here is decently sized with a fingerprint sensor on the top right corner. My experience again with the Vivobook trackpad has been good, as it supports the Windows precision drivers, and the surface of the trackpad has been kind of good. I won't say it is the best, but it is good. And the fingerprint sensor is really accurate, but one small gripe is that it is kind of small. Now the overview which I just gave you was based on my experience. Now I'm sure there will be some differences here from what I've told, but to know what those are, we would definitely have to test this out too. Now as for the selection of ports, these are really good. You get two USB 3.2 ports, with one being USB-C, but it doesn't support charging. And you get two USB 2.0 ports, with both being USB-A. There's a RJ45 jack, a HDMI port, a full-size SD card slot, which is amazing, and finally you have the charging port. I have to say these are amazing selection of ports for a mid-range device, so great job Asus. As for the battery, this has a 42 watt battery, which is not that of a high capacity, and going by some user reviews, the battery life looks to be not the strongest point of this laptop. And finally, we have Bluetooth 5.0 and Wi-Fi 6, which is amazing because these are the newer versions of wireless connectivity. So finally, we've come to the best part of this laptop, which is the internals. Now, as I previously told you, we get two models here. The 52,000 rupee version has an i5 8300H, whereas the 62,000 rupee model has the i5 9300H. But please don't come to the conclusion that the 9th gen is better than the 8th gen, because the difference is kind of not that big. You only get somewhere around 8 to 12% of performance boost on the 9th gen i5 when compared to the 8th gen i5. So when it comes to games, you might only see few extra frames. But if you still want the newer CPU, please go with the 9th gen i5. But talking about the base version with the 8th gen i5, this is a powerful CPU for the price. Now, any work which takes advantage of the CPU will work really well when compared to any U series Intel processors, because those U series chips are usually the ones you get with laptops in this price range. So again, an amazing CPU for the price. So we have an amazing CPU, but what about the GPU? And that's where this boy shines. This laptop comes with an Nvidia GTX 1650, which has 4 gigs of GDDR5 memory. And I have to say, it really is a shocker that you get a 1650 GPU in a 52,000 rupee laptop. You know, you usually get GTX 1050s at the same price point, but getting a 1650 is really amazing. Now, the GTX 1650 has a significant performance increase when compared to the GTX 1050. I'll have some performance charts on the screen right now. Please see the differences for yourself. So as you can see, the performance on this laptop is the strongest point of it. The laptop comes with 4 gigs of DDR4 RAM, which is upgradable to 16. And as for storage, you get a 512GB PCIe SSD, which should be crazy fast when compared to any regular hard disk. So overall, when it comes to the performance, this laptop will definitely be able to play games much better than any laptop equipped with an MX series or 1050 GPU. So let me give you a rough idea of how gaming might be on this laptop. So consider you're playing a game CSGO. So if you're playing CSGO on this laptop, you will be easily able to achieve very high frame rates, maybe like 70, 80 or even more than that at high settings at 1080p. Yes, the 1650 and the combination of the H series processor is that powerful. Now consider you are playing a AAA title, say like GTA 5 or Call of Duty. You would definitely be able to play those games at medium settings at 1080p and achieve 60 FPS. And if those AAA games are like old, maybe like 5 or 6 years old, then you might even be able to play them at high settings at 1080p and still get 60 FPS. You know, so that's how good the gaming performance will possibly be on this laptop. Now that's impressive considering that this here is only a 52,000 rupee laptop. And even when it comes to, you know, photo and video editing, this should be easily able to handle it. So if you're editing a 1080p footage, then they should handle that smoothly, even if you have the playback at full resolution. But if you're planning to edit, you know, 4K videos, then you might need to reduce the playback settings and, you know, possibly increase the RAM to get the smoothest experience. But whatever you say, I'm really surprised by the performance you get out of this laptop, as you usually don't get to see dedicated gaming GPUs or CPUs in this price range. So with that said, we've come to the end of this video. Now I'm really happy that there's a laptop like this, because we get an idea of how the laptop industry is moving forward. So maybe in few years time, you will definitely be able to play games on your laptop at really good settings, but you might not need to shell out a whole lot of money. So that is an amazing thing to just think about. But by no means is this laptop perfect too. You know, the build might not be the most strongest. The speakers are definitely not going to be the best. The battery life, you know, due to all this power might get hit a bit. And the thermals is one area where we should all be concerned about. But when you consider the power of this laptop, the value proposition it has, then I think we can eliminate all the small cons it has, because you definitely can't expect to get everything and pay less for a product. And when you compare this with the Xiaomi Mi Notebook 14 Horizon Edition, this is a much powerful device. Now I'm comparing this with the Mi Notebook 14 only because of how Xiaomi boasted that there are no laptops with that level of performance and specs in this price range. And sadly, they were kind of wrong. But I have nothing against them, and the Mi Notebook 14 is a really good laptop for anyone looking to get work done and want a thin and light machine. But for anyone who wants a powerful machine with dedicated hardware to deal with games, then the Asus Vivobook Gaming F571GT is the one to go with. I leave the links to all the models of this laptop in the description below. Please select the one that you like, but I would personally say go with the 52,000 rupee version because that makes more sense and the value that you get for the money you're paying is really high. And since you don't get much of a performance difference between a 9 Gen i5 and an 8 Gen i5, I think it's better you go with a 52,000 rupee one unless you need a 120Hz display. And finally, I have only one thing to say to Asus. Great job. With that said, thanks for watching, and this here is Suman signing off once again. Catch you later.